Welcome to Seeds.
Hi, I'm Tracy.
And I'm Kristine.
And today we're going to talk about psychics and spiritual leaders.
So, have you ever been to a psychic? And how much stock should we be putting in the words of a psychic in terms of psychics or even and spiritual leaders as it relates to our life? So let's start off first. Have you ever been to a psychic?
More than I want to even admit.
Really?
Yes, I have.
You have.
But yeah, in the past I have.
And what has been your approach with it?
I've always taken it with a grain of salt. There are some, but I think that we all have that power in us, but there are some that do actually give you some insight, but I still walk away with it with a grain of salt because I find that if you take it on, it can influence your decisions. Yeah. If you take on what they say.
But what's the point in going if it's not going to influence?
Sometimes it's just for fun, but then there's some questions you kind of want. Honestly, it's really just for pure foolishness, to be honest with you, for me. I'm not even going to lie.
For
you,
me, right?
For me, yes, because I believe we all are intuitive, and we all have that gut instinct to know what's right and what's wrong, or what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But sometimes when I was, I guess, less informed, I would assume that by speaking to someone, they'd help me form that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, even when I left, though, I would still make my own.
Yeah. It's funny. I find them fascinating. These days, you go on television and you see, there's psychics and then there's mediums. And I think the difference between the two is the psychics, I guess, they're able to, tell you about your life and about where your life is going and what you should be expecting and things like that. And then you've got these precognitive. Yeah. And then you've got these mediums who they feel or say that they've got this direct connection to people who have passed on, which is a whole other
that's a whole other
other thing as well. So for me, I've always, when I was young, I was interested in astrology. I'm from the astrological signs, I'm an Aquarius, and so, you'd read up the horoscopes, and I was like, okay, and then you'd find these things that you identify with, or traits, I guess, that and you say, yeah, I could see myself that way, or not. As far as going to psychics, I've always found them intriguing, but there was always this element of, who are they? What are they gonna
gain? What are they possibly trying to gain by it?
Yeah, like the ones that just say, "Oh, you like the color green, or you like whatever." That's fine. What would scare me is sitting in front of them when they start telling you things that they couldn't possibly know about you.
Yes.
And then as soon as that happens, a certain level of credibility is formed with them, and then if they begin telling you things that have not yet come to pass. And then how much weight and expectation are you putting on those things? And how are your decisions? Like, oh, you're going to meet the man of your dreams in March of 2000, whatever. And then you're sitting there, and are you if let's suppose they say 2016, you're going to meet the man of your dreams. But here we are in 2015. So anybody who comes up to you, you're like, oh, no.
Yes,
I can't talk to you because
my guy
is really coming along in 2016, right? So it's how much weight and how much stock are we putting into this, and how much should we? Do you think that there are people, though, who truly have the ability to tap into that type of knowing?
Oh, I absolutely do. But the way I discern those kind of people are the ones who charge money and the ones who don't.
So for you, it's based on them charging.
Yes.
So what are you saying, that if they
I think it might be real if they do charge money. Don't get me wrong. There might be some that are real if they do charge money. But what I mean is, for me personally, the ones that I've seen that don't charge money, they actually do it because they recognize it is a gift, and they shouldn't gain anything except to help other people with it. But I do believe there are people that have some serious insight.
That's interesting. Are you saying that if you have a gift, you shouldn't charge money for it? What about all these singers and actors and who have amazing gifts that they're sharing with the world, that they shouldn't get compensation?
No, I'm not talking about them, but I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it, but listen, because especially with artists, what they're selling you see up front. and you get a taste of what they're going to give you, and it's up to you to decide that you're going to pay them. With a psychic, I think it's a little more, what's the word? It's a little more of a gray area because you don't know what to expect. So you are putting, I think, more trust in them than, because for me, artists and like singers and actors and people like that, they're selling an actual product, or a tangible product, maybe I should say. Whereas psychics, you're going in to pay them for things that you cannot necessarily, what's the word? That you cannot necessarily hold on to because there is no real actual proof.
You know what? And this is the honest truth, I used to think like that, even with when it came to pastors and when it came, I did. That's shifting for me now, but that's another topic that we can talk about, whether or not you should get paid or you should be able to get paid. I think that's a really, really good topic that we can talk about. But about actual psychics in terms of their ability to tap into and whether or not we should rely on them. And like we said, it's not just psychics. It's anybody that we feel we need to sit in front of or seek their whatever as it relates to our life. And is there a danger in us doing that? I believe there is.
I believe there could be. There definitely could be, depending on how much weight you put in them, how much stock you put in them. If you're going in there, and even if they do tell you your whole life story,
does that necessarily mean you're going to be able to?
Because even when you're talking about horoscopes, when you really read horoscopes, even about the different signs, you can really see the generalities in it. Like, you could probably read the sign for, I'm a Gemini, I'd be considered Gemini. You could probably read something for Gemini and it would relate to you.
Yeah, if they took what you said for Gemini and just switched it and put it Aquarius, I'd be like,
that's me. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm coming from with the whole psychic thing as well. So, and I think that some people do put too much stock in them because some people won't make a move without speaking to a psychic or a medium
I think
first.
That's very dangerous.
And that's where the danger comes in. If you can't just do it and then take what they say and walk away and take it with a grain of salt, or even apply what you think is necessary for you, and you go, but the things you won't even make a decision without talking to one first, that's where the danger comes in.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who believe that even that psychics are coming from a not so godly place.
Yes.
And that you shouldn't go for that reason either.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But we don't, that's what I'm saying, that's something we just don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know because even though we all have a connection to the spirit world.
Is there a Bible teaching in there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely against seeking those people out.
Oh, okay.
It's absolutely against it because of that exact reason. You don't know what spirit is giving them
the information. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why. But on the other side of it, people could consider the prophets of the Bible psychics.
Well, true.
Because they prophesied many things before they happen. But that's when I think your discerning spirit has to come in to decide what you want to, whether you should even go near them or. And what I found with the prophets though is they preached, they spoke it out to everybody. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm not saying psychics now, but I'm talking about the ones in the Bible. They were the ones that would charge for it, and they would be the ones that would, in the Bible stories, they were tricksters. They were shown as tricksters. You know what I mean? And they would, like, even there was one, I can't remember what his name. I think it's something Simon or whatever, and he started to latch on to one of the disciples because it was Peter, because Peter was doing all these wonders and signs. That this guy was telling me, like, how do you do these tricks? You know, you got to show me so I can go and show the people. And he must have just admonished him or whatever. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. That to me is the difference between the two of them. And I found that the prophets, they just spoke it to anyone who would listen. Yeah. Because it was a message from God. Yeah. Whereas the Bible does preach on don't go to mediums because you don't know. Yeah. Mediums or psychics because you don't know where.
I gotta say, it is an interesting area. Like, it really, really
well, I'm sure, have you ever had any psychic experiences or weird, strange experiences that you would say was otherworldly?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think we all have.
I have. I mean, even, we could get into even dreams. Like
Yes.
there's dreams that I've had that have actually come to pass.
Yes.
And again, is that psychic energy? Could that be considered psychic? I don't know.
I personally think it's intuition is psychic ability, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all have it. Some people just, and that's kind of why you don't really have to go to psychic. Some people just know how to hone it better than the rest of us, but we all have it.
Yeah.
We all have that ability.
Yeah, I think the true psychic who calls themselves psychic, I think they're the ones that will tell you really exactly what you just said, that we all have it. I think it's the ones that say, you know what, you got to come to me because I have this and this is mine, and therefore you have to be dependent on me in order to...
And it becomes a business. It becomes business.
It's only business.
It's not about helping. It's about making money.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the danger lies.
Yeah.
So...
Interesting.
But and even like with spiritual leaders, same thing. You have to be careful who you give your power to.
I think that's what it boils down to. You really have to be careful who. In fact, I would say don't give your power to anyone.
Anybody, exactly.
Yeah, do not give your power to anyone. It's
Absolutely.
You know, there are people out there in the world who, you know, based on their experiences, they have a certain perspective, maybe a greater perspective in terms of how they look at things. So there's nothing wrong with going to people,
advice,
you know, whether it's, I mean, it doesn't have to be a spiritual person. It could be somebody who is your friend who has a higher spiritual intelligence. So therefore, you're going to them to get perspective. But at the end of the day, it's that person should, in my opinion, be pointing you, giving you what they have to say based on their perspective. But at the end of the day, saying, but don't take what I'm saying as you know, bond, as law. You have to take this information as you have to take all data that you receive. Go into yourself, connect with source yourself in order to get your clarity.
Your true clarity, your true wisdom. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer that he's not going to steer you wrong.
Yeah.
If you seek it from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with like people hearing stuff from psychics if that's what they choose to do. But be careful, and even with spiritual leaders, be careful.
Yeah. For me, I think it would only ever be for entertainment value.
Yes.
And even then, I'm very, very, I'll be honest, I couldn't see myself now going to a psychic, and that's the honest truth. Only because, again, I think the subconscious mind, it's very, very powerful, and when they put something into your mind, whether you can't unthink the thought.
Exactly. It's there. It's planted.
You cannot unthink the thought. And as soon as it goes into your mind, it's there, and you start to give energy to it. It becomes a focus.
Yeah.
And I think I'll be honest, I actually think there's a huge danger. Overall, I think there's more of a danger. Particularly when I think, like we're just saying, that we all have that ability in us. We all have that intuition. We all have that inner voice. We all have that connection with God. So what I would probably say is, before you go to a psychic, you know, connect with that, find that, strengthen that. It's all there inside of you. But there's a huge risk, in my opinion, of going to someone who's going to be putting things in your head that, you know, may be true or not, but even worse, it could become self-fulfilling prophecy just because we speak about the law of attraction, right?
Because it was put in your head.
It's put in your head. It becomes your focus of attraction, your focus of attention. You're giving it energy, and then therefore you're attracting like things to that energy that you are. So you got to be very, very, very careful. And unless you have a very strong, discerning mind, I think this might sound very egotistical. I think I could sit in front of a psychic, because of how I think, like I said, just for the entertainment value, and not necessarily be affected. But
why bother?
And well, that's the point.
That's it. Why bother now?
Why bother?
Why
There's other things I'll spend my time on instead of doing that, because really there is a possibility. The power of suggestion is huge. And I'm not.
And nobody's strong enough. Nobody's what's the word?
I know.
They're not impermeable to it. Everyone is permeable to a suggestion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why bother?
Exactly. And especially if you do know you are, and I think that's probably even why, because you have a direct connection with God, that to you would be foolishness now.
It would be.
Why would I even seek out anyone else when I talk to the highest power there is?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think a lot of people rely on psychics, and I think this is another. And you're right. It depends on the frame. it's so weird because what you just said there is so true. It's because of where I'm at, and my understanding that we all have that in us. There'd be no point for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
Those that go a lot, I think it's because they may not have that firm
foundation, or they have dealt within themselves that it is real their
which
intuition.
makes them more vulnerable to anything that the psychic is then putting in front of them.
And if they're really a psychic, they'll pick up on that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally, because you're sitting there like a
like a lost puppy,
like a lost puppy.
You know, yeah.
And that psychic knows, I got this.
I got this one, exactly. I got
this one right now, right? So I think a lot of people tend to go to psychics when they're at a stage in their life when they're either broken, they're searching, they're needing answers, they're searching and they're broken.
Yes.
And I think when you're broken, you are more vulnerable.
Yes.
To so many things. There could be a sense of desperation why they're seeking out these psychics too, and you just have to be. I can't seem to get this done. That's cool. That's odd. Yeah. So I guess we just have to be a little bit more
mindful.
A little mindful
before we see them.
Yeah.
And much more discerning, and always go to the originator. Always go to him first. If you have doubts and questions, believe me, you may not recognize that he's already answered your questions, but if you really zone into him, you'll recognize it. The more you zone into him, the more the answers will come. But yeah, we were talking about psychics, but I also think there's also a danger with certain spiritual leaders as well, because the same way people will put all trust into a psychic is the same thing they do with spiritual leaders, to the point of the spiritual leaders making every decision for them. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And in some ways, it's actually even more dangerous because you're going in there with this idea that this person is ordained by God, and therefore, if you don't follow what they're saying, your conscience is now affected because, so there's
because but I think that I find that if people are really, and where spiritual leaders are concerned, I believe that if just like a psychic, a true spiritual leader will lead you to find your own truth. They are only there to help guide you. They should only be there for guidance. They shouldn't be telling you should be doing this or you have to do that in order to gain this. That's where I think the danger lies as well.
How much power are we giving these people?
I know, and because there's even some spiritual leaders, like to me, as far as I've always grown up or known that we are all the same. We're all brethren. We're all given different gifts to help each other. There's some things that we are more knowledgeable at than other people, and we're supposed to share that with people. But when it comes down to you having to call someone master, and you have to put them on a pedestal, and then worship comes in, something's wrong.
Yeah.
That's where I think something is wrong. Because as far as we're all concerned, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all one.
Yeah.
No one's higher than the other. Everyone just has different gifts and more knowledge of other things, that doesn't make them better.
Yeah.
Because the same way they may have more knowledge on something that you don't, you'll have more knowledge than they do on that. And any real spiritual leader, I think, would recognize they're a teacher as well. I'm sorry, a student, my mistake. That they're a student as well.
Yeah.
And to me, that is where that they realize they have stuff to learn as well. Yeah. I don't know everything. You're not supposed to bow down to me.
Yeah.
And worship me and call me higher titles than you. And that's where I think you can kind of sort of weed out the ones that are for real and not.
The other thing too is that some of them could have been for real at a particular time.
Sure.
And as they go through their own journey, their ego, exactly, where all of a sudden they themselves change. So I'm not saying, I think it's great if you're in a church and you've been following the same person for X amount of time, or following what they're saying or taking in what they're saying. But that person has had to have gone through their own journey as well. And I think we have to always be very, very seeking the fruit, seeking the food that we need based, and the sources of that food based on where we have grown and how we have evolved.
Yes.
So you might have been going to, let's say, church from, you know, the time you were a teenager or time you were a kid up until your 20s. But maybe now in your 20s, with all that you've learned and all of your life experience, maybe now it's a different church or a different leader or a different whatever, a different avenue that you have to go in order to get
more
different
or different
food.
perspective.
Like
Exactly.
we give babies baby food because they can digest, baby food. And as we get older, we can digest a different type of food, something a little bit more solid with a little bit more substance. And then and you know what I mean? Like everything is in its is in its stages. So it's up to us to kind of seek our own paths, our own foods, and not give the power away to just any one person, because that falls.
And
that's within
it's
us.
very addictive for some personalities too. The more power they get, the more they want.
Yeah, we talked about this in another.
Exactly.
What's the narcissism?
Yes,
thing I think we talked about.
That's exactly what it is. The more power they get, it's like they start to believe themselves that I am God. You know, and it doesn't become that I'm helping you. It's I am God, and you should worship me because I know so much more, and I'm at a higher level than you.
Yeah.
And that is it's dangerous.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
And for them, actually, for them too.
Yeah, you're doing them a disservice, a huge disservice, because you're just perpetuating that same
madness. Listen, straight up madness. The Jamaicans coming out madness.
Yeah.
So on that note,
I think we've kind of wrapped that up for now. And I mean, there's more that could be talked about in those areas, but we'll end it off now. Follow your own guidance system. It's there. It's been placed in you. God has put it in you. Follow your own guidance system, and you know, if you need more answers, first rely on yourself. Rely on that inner voice that we all have and that we all hear.
Absolutely.
And that will steer you
the
right way each and every time.
Yes. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can be updated every time we put a new video out. And we'd like to know what seeds you're going to plant today.